Hey everybody, welcome to What Had Happened Was. It's Karen Bryant here with.
Sugar, what's going on, everybody? How you doing?
Hey, so listen, for a quick summary, Angela Hill and I used to do this podcast. What Had Happened Was a few years ago, and Suga and I decided we wanted to bring it back in 2026 as just kind of a thing to react to stuff that's going on in MMA, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a good time for it. A lot of interesting stuff happening, so we gotta jump on it.
All right, so cool. So today, let's talk about a couple of things that happened at UFC 324. We're not going to go through the whole entire card. We are going to talk Justin Gaethje. We are going to talk Sugar Sean, and we will also talk about Waldo Cortez Acosta. So, first and foremost, Sugar, we have a new champion, and his name is Justin Gaethje.
I'm a big fan of Justin Gaethje. I've known Justin for a long time before he got into the UFC, and I watched his journey come along the way. We kind of trained around the same time in Colorado. He
Mhm.
was there a little bit there after I was, and with Trevor Whitman and stuff like that. But we have ties with Trevor Whitman, and watching him come up from when there's a World Series of fighting, and just watching him break into the UFC and be the way that he was, and go through the trials and tribulations that he did. Always in an exciting fight, but it didn't always go his way. And you just never knew that if he was ever going to touch that goal. And to see him touch that goal, man, it brought little tears to my eyes, man. I kind of got a little emotional about it. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, that's kind of nice. And yeah, you guys have a lot of history. It's funny because I totally had forgotten in a way about the whole way that he got to the UFC. But I do remember working UFC Tonight when he was fighting Michael Johnson. And Michael was all like, look, it's a little different when you come over to the UFC. It's not
Yeah.
going to be the same and this and that. And that was a little bit heated. And then, of course, Justin had a great fight. And it was like, well, as soon as he got here, he made quite an impact. So I agree with you. Like, it's been a long road for him. And I feel like he's probably quite satisfied now to finally be holding that gold.
Absolutely. One thing about Justin is such a natural fighter. And by that, I mean, like, there's guys that fight, but they still have, like, they're not total fight. Like, they don't love the chaos of it. You know what I'm saying? They would rather have one of those clean knockout fights or whatever the case may be. We all would, to be honest. But
Yeah.
Justin loves to get in the muck of a fight. He don't mind when it gets mucky. He don't mind when it gets grimy. And, he that's why they call him the highlight, because it's through those opportunities when you kind of let it go loose where you find the biggest opportunities to get the finish. And we've seen that time and time again. But I mean, that fight was absolutely amazing. From the beginning of the fight all the way to the end, it was just all gas, no brakes, KB.
It was, it's interesting though, Sugar, because I do hope now people give Paddy Pimblett more respect. A lot of people were saying that he was nobody and he was a Muppet and he was this or that coming into this fight. I hope now people respect Paddy more than they did because that man deserves it. That was a hell of a fight.
Yo, I mean, I ain't gonna hold you. I was one of those people, man. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. Listen, I watched I watched Paddy, like I almost called him Kobe. See that? No, but I watched Paddy like develop and grow as a fighter, and I've seen him getting better. I've seen him
Yeah.
struggle, and I've seen him kind of fall out of shape when he wasn't fighting, and he had to come in. And it seemed like when he got into the cage, he would fight to the level of his competition. So it looked as if, like, when he did his training, it was like a fat camp. And by that, I mean, like, when it's a fat camp, you don't really add any skills. You just go to camp to lose weight. And
Right,
it
like
did.
how the first few weeks of camp are getting in shape for camp, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it looked like when he went out there and fought, sometimes his whole camp was just about him losing weight, because it didn't look like he was adding skill. But out of nowhere, he turned the corner. And what we seen Saturday is we seen Paddy grow as a fighter. Like, this is the fight that we seen Paddy grow. If you're gonna lose a fight, that's how you lose a fight. I mean, his stock didn't lose. He didn't lose any stock. If anything, he gained stock. And I couldn't be like, when I watched him fight, I was thinking, like, man, he's getting touched up pretty good, but he kept coming back. And I was like, you know what? It was the first time I seen it, but I said, Paddy's gonna be a champion.
Nice. Well, I've been a Paddy fan, so I was one of those people who did expect him to give Justin a good fight, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, Justin did win on the cards. Justin took 1, 2, 4, and 5 on two of the
Yeah.
scorecards, and 1, 2, and 4 on one of the judges' scorecards. So, he was definitely in command of the fight. But Sugar, one thing I want to ask you about is the reaction to the fight between Justin and Paddy, because some people on one hand say, "Oh my God, what an epic fight. It was a slobber knocker. It was incredible. What a fight." And on the other hand, people are like, "That was so sloppy. There was no technique. That was bad, bad, bad. What a terrible fight." And it's amazing how MMA fans can see the same fight and read it completely differently.
You know what? I can see both sides of it, but here's the
Both
thing
of
though.
you see
I can see
both of
both. I
them
can see both
sides?
sides. I can see both of those sides. And here's why I say that is because, yeah, it was a lot of action. We all seen that. But here's the thing: when you fight, it's not very technical, and by that, it's like when I fight and I'm reacting to getting hit, I'm not going to be all the way buttoned up. I'm fighting with emotion. That's the difference between a technical fight and a fight. Like sometimes you watching a fight and a fight really doesn't happen. It's just too technical, and you're watching two skilled fight. You see it all the time in boxing where the two highly skilled fighters and they're just so highly and so technical. You don't really see the aggression that comes from when you see somebody come unhinged because they just got hit with a big shot. That's what we want to see. And the reason why we were pulled into that fight is because the emotion of it all. Like these guys are fighting with emotion, and that's what makes a fight different than when you see other competitions where guys are having a more technical aspect of just the fighting arts. You need to see sometimes a fight break out in a fight, and that's what we got to see.
I will say that literally halfway into round one, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a slobber knocker."
Yeah,
Here we
it was
go.
it was crazy
It
because
was, it was, and I was here for it. So, like, I agree with you. Like, it was emotional, and so I got invested in all that. And there were times where I was like, "Man, Patty throws from the hip sometimes, and he might want to keep his hands up a little higher." And then there was other time, and I was like, other times where I was like, "Justin's gonna get cracked with that uppercut again." You know
yeah,
what I mean? And it was like
yeah.
both of those things were true. Both of those things were
Both
true.
of them things was true, and that's the thing though. It's like when you fight with emotion, sometimes it comes out like that. Like
Yeah.
you train to react, and when you react and you hoping it's clean and you hoping it's technical, that's what you train for. But when you're in a fight, sometimes just the emotion of it comes out, and that's the thing about it. Like the thing with trash talking and the reason
Uh-huh.
why it's effective is because you can make people fight out of their comfort zone, and you make them fight out of what they've been training for. A lot of coaches see a fighter get too emotional and they'll try to reel them in, because when you get too emotional, you're not very technical.
Hmm.
But when you're emotional, that's when the fight is funner, and that's when you fight from that place and where you got to find the other guy. Listen, Justin won that fight, but I guarantee he had to tap into that other guy, because that third round, Paddy put together some combinations. And here's another thing, like Paddy's stand up was always kind of like it was kind of sus to me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay,
I wasn't buying onto it. You know what I'm saying? I felt
I
like
hear
very
you.
just it was very you know it wasn't very buttoned up. You know what I'm saying? I felt like
Gotcha.
he could have been better, but Paddy's stand up has grew leaps and bounds. He's
Hmm.
throwing nice movement, nice combinations. He's got confidence with his
Hmm.
combinations. He's got a little bit of power. And I say he's got power because Justin wasn't just walking up on him like that after a while. Like Justin got caught with some punches that he was like, yo, I gotta mind my range when I walk up on this kid.
Yeah. No, it's very true. Patty was probably a tougher fight than expected by Justin. You know what I mean? I think he was maybe a little bit dismissive of Patty beforehand, and now isn't so much so. But Sugar, I have a question for you. As I was watching this, and because this is your era, but as I was watching, and I guess I've thought about it for a while, but would you say that Justin Gaethje is the new Dan Henderson? Because he feels like it. The way
Yo,
it's like he's a
oh,
former
okay.
wrestler who kind of even abandoned the wrestling part because he was heavy handed and didn't just keeps the wrestling in his back pocket. You know what I mean? But they got the America thing going on and just
Yeah,
that
I can
heavy
see that.
handedness of it all. And I was like,
Oh,
man, he's
yeah.
kind of like this generation's Hendo.
I can see that, man. I'll tell you what, man. From being in the cage with Hendo,
That's why I'm
that
asking.
listen, that motherfucker was strong. He was strong. Like he hit me with a jab, and I was just like, "Yo, what was that?" I went back to the corner. I went back to the corner asking what hit me. My coach was like, "Yeah, he caught you with the punch," and I'm like, "What punch?" Well, I had to look on the screen to see it was a jab. I'm like, "Oh, he caught me with the jab. Damn, that was his jab." You know, that was his jab, and he caught me with an elbow. Like, but I digress. He's strong, okay, and you can see Justin Gaethje strong like that too. It's that old man strength. That's what it is. It's that old man strength.
I love it. Which one of you all hit me?
That's it. I think the ref. Herb, why you jumping in?
Herb, come on, man, help a brother out. Um, I love it. Well, we do have a new champion. You know, Ilya Taporia was already talking some trash. I put a clip out on my YouTube, but of his tweet. But basically, he was saying how Paddy blew it because he could have had the biggest payday in the world in his life if he had just beaten this 38-year-old guy. And then he said, like, Justin, for you, I would say good luck, but basically you're already screwed. You know, so we will see Ilya versus Justin at some point, and
I
that will be
mean,
entertaining.
listen, Ilya is a true mercenary out there. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
He's on something different. But I'll be interested to see how he's gonna bounce back after everything that has happened in his personal life and everything like that.
Hmm.
Because there's nothing that takes a fight out of you than something like that, and it's going to be interesting to see. You know, I mean, but sometimes you're just that good. You're just that good, right? Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And I don't expect him to be anything different, but at the same time, I think you'll be foolish to not put that into play. Like, how much has his personal life really affected? You know, his mindset and everything,
Hmm.
being able to go into a fight.
Hey, Sugar, if people want to find you on social media and stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Go to my IG at Sugar Rashad Evans and hit me up, and I'll respond. I
Nice.
will. I'm not one of those people who won't. I'll respond.
Nice. And for me, it's at KB Heat on Instagram and on Threads and all that. And yeah, so like I said, Sugar and I, we're just gonna, react to some stuff. You know, sometimes Sugar, if just something blows up in the middle of the week, you and I'll just pop in for a couple minutes,
Um,
share some thoughts on that. So hopefully people can like subscribe here to the channel so that you don't miss any of these things because you want to keep up and because you always want to know what happened, right?
what happened was.
All right, Sugar. Thanks for joining. I'll see you soon.
All right, we out.